Okay, so once you understand the share bar and you know how to share something as you're talking and like drag things in and do stuff as you go, you're going to start to feel like, oh, I want to share a picture and then another picture and then a video and then I want to share my desktop. You're going to start to have some other requirements that are maybe a little bit more sophisticated. And the temptation with these sorts of apps is to introduce the concept of scenes. And I find, I've worked with scenes for 10 years, like I know all about scenes, but I think they're actually a really awkward way to do storytelling. So that's why I have created the concept of smart scripts, which is how CueCam does it, right? How CueCam lets you write something, put something together. So we can think of this in terms of scenes, or we can think about it in terms of a presentation, or we can think about it really in terms of a script, like script writing for film, right? So really, what have we got here? What have we got? Your script is here. This is your script, right? And then here we have like a camera preview just to sort of show yeah, it's a sort of like vague representation of what it's going to look like, but it's not necessarily a perfect representation of what's going to go out. So, that will improve in time. But what do we have here? We have a sequence of cue cards. We've just got one card so far. But if you want to know what a card is, you've got a button here, add card, and that's going to give you an idea of the sorts of things that you can add. But like before you get carried away with that, I want you to think about how you tell a story, how you communicate effectively, and that is not through a load of busy slides full of text, right? Or even, we're on a camera here, we're talking. The minute we, take over the call with some big blank thing or like loads of busy text, like you're sort of like blocking the communication. So the way CueCam is designed is really to help you focus on the words you want to say, right? So that's the first thing you're going to do, is you're going to start typing what you want to say. Today we're going to start with the live camera window, right? And then you're going to add another card. And let's just we'll click it like just you and Teleprompter. This text will appear in your Teleprompter. Press delete. Next we're going to talk about smart scripts, right? So now I've got two cue cards. Just the way to think about this is the text that I'm going to be able to see as I'm talking to camera. It's going to remind me what to say. Now, this can be as vague or specific as you like. If you want to really nail down some language, you can sort of iterate on this and get the language perfect and read it verbatim. Or you can just say section 1 is going to be this and just remind yourself this is what you're talking about. So if I hit start, we go into presentation mode. Now it's my camera with my nice LUT applied, and we see we've got our speaker notes up here, and we can just click anywhere to go to the next one, and we can see the speaker notes continue there. We can go previous, we can go we can press escape to sort of finish that. But obviously this is not an ideal place for, you can, if you just want to use your FaceTime camera, just change the window, put that as close enough to the webcam, and then you're sort of not going to be looking too far away. But really this is made for a teleprompter, so that's why we sort of see this teleprompter thing. So, but if you're using Shoot, whatever's on there, in fact I should be able to show you this right now. On your phone screen, what are you going to see? On your teleprompter, as we kind of go through that, I'm going to make this a bit bigger just so you can sort of see it a bit. So you see on the phone screen, you've got that text appearing, and that's appearing right next to where the iPhone's camera is, so that you can just read that off and see it, and that's going to look pretty good. But if you do have a big teleprompter like me, there's a button here for the teleprompter window, and this is a window that you drag into your Elgato prompter or whatever and full screen it. And this gives you the text, right? So we can, if we go sort of forwards, we can see that text changing. So this is where I live really. This is on my teleprompter. This is what I see, right? This is the teleprompter window. So we're gonna see the text, the words that we're gonna say. We're gonna have a few other options here. You can actually set this to be a Zoom call, in the same ways you can do it for the Shoot camera. But let's just talk about the teleprompter window for a bit before we go back to the script, because it's really probably where you should start. Here we've got, if you hover over this placeholder, this text, depending on how far away the teleprompter is, you can change the size of the text with these like buttons here, or you can change the max width by dragging that slider there if you want to be able to fit a bit more horizontally, depending on how big your window is. You can also, like, you have the button here to navigate the presentation, and you also have your audio levels showing up here. And like when I'm doing this with this mic, I'm going to make it louder later, but usually you want to be like in the green for this to be good. So that's the teleprompter window, and that's really what you're thinking about when you're writing these cards. Like, what do I want to be reminded of? And so you're going to create the script here. But you see to the side, we also have this, there's a little preview. That's just me, right? That's just showing that it's just going to be me talking, right? So that's why we have that icon there. But we can start to see, as you click on here, that there's a few other options of what you can do there. So let's try just adding, you know, a title. So we add a title here. Like, what do we get? We can see straight away presentation title. If I start typing, you know, live camera window, right? That's going to put some text down on the screen, right? We can also change the layout of that with these buttons here. We can go to the right. We can go to the other side. And it will keep you, when you present it, it will keep you centered. It's a bit weird on the preview. So like the preview, take this preview with a pinch of salt, but like, you know, once we play this, you see it works the first time, but I don't know what, I think there's a bug. Yeah, so I'm going to show you what that layout's going to be like. Live camera window. Now, when you're using one of these sideways ones, you actually are able to resize how much space that text has. So if you wanted to do something like that, you can do that there. And say you don't like the color, I'll probably like surface this up, but like you can open this card settings here, and you can either change the color for the entire document. So let's say we want nice pink titles. Obviously you've got the color picker here, so you can pick whatever you want. But I would, you know, I've tried to pick out some decent colors for you. So this is using the clean design system, and we can just like set the background color like that and get something different for the whole document. But if you did have like you had a certain emotional response that you wanted to get for that card, you can like change it per card. But if you just want to go back to the doc design, you can do that. And then, you know, typing underneath, you know, that's all just going to show is just for you, right? So, you know, this underneath is just for you. So again, you know, we press play, we're going to get a nice transition as that comes in. It's going to move you out of the way, but we're going to see in our teleprompter this text, but also we're going to see that title that we put in. So what that makes really easy, and it's another reason, right? So you say, you click on here, right? I'm going to edit the text. It doesn't say, it's actually going to give you a thing the first time. If you click on that text, it's actually just going to focus the area here, because I don't really want you like dragging around text. I think that's a waste of everyone's time trying to like lay out text. So I do a load of stuff to lay out that text nicely. And so you can just like type in, this is, you know, something else, right? That's live, let's just go back to live camera window, right? We can have that text, we just type it. But what's really good, like one reason I really love this is if you're using Keynote, you're going to have your titles and stuff, and then you're going to have your speaker notes, and they're going to be sort of separate things. And like a lot of the time, you're going to end up putting stuff on the titles that really just belongs in the speaker notes. And that's because those things are sort of like different places, and it's quite hard to like, you've got to go and delete one from one place and put it in the other place, which is why I've gone for this very text markdown style editing. Because this just lets you say, like, what am I going to say when I come on? I'm going to say, hello, my name is Michael Forrest, right? Okay, so I've done that. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. But actually, like, I want to put that text on the screen. So I'm just going to put a new line in there and press and put a hash in front of that. And suddenly, I've got myself a title on screen. Hello, my name's Michael Forrest. I have not disrupted the flow of my reading, but now that sort of knows to go on the screen as well. Let's put that as a lower third instead. And so now straight away, I'm like going, okay, here's my live camera window. And then I say, hi, I'm Michael Forrest. And I can sort of continue talking about what I'm going to talk about. And yeah, sort of today we're talking about CueCam Presenter. Now, with these cards, you see when the mouse goes to that style, you can actually, let's say we want that to be first, we can just drag that up to the top. It's going to sort of like put that up to the top. And then also something you can see here is, you see there's a little preview of what that's going to look like. And that's also relevant to, like if we show the thumbnails on the side, we can see previews of all the cards and we can sort of navigate between those cards. Now, this is like, say if you did want to use CueCam like OBS or whatever, you could like run the script, have a couple of things on different cards and just like click the card here to jump around the different things. And I even like let you copy a deep link to that card. So if you wanted to put the cards on different buttons, you could do that. But you know, I'm not sure that that is the best way to tell a good story. I think kind of like you do want a bit of a sequence most of the time. And if you have to remember number 4, number 6, number 18, like that's quite hard to like focus on the story because you're trying to remember. You can develop muscle memory, but you know, it takes a bit of effort. Now, here's a pro tip. If you're in the UK, on your Apple keyboard, the hash character, which I use all the time because I'm a programmer, but it's like, it's a bit weird. It's actually on the 3 key and you have to press Option or Alt and press 3 and that gives you a hash, right? So you may have to learn that to become fluid in this. So it's just, you know, but then it's going to be really quick to do things, you know, to type stuff in. But you see we've got a few other options of cards. So we can add a lower third. This gives you a template for, it's got an image, it's got like your name, and it's got what do you do. So you can click on those to just edit them. You can click on that image to replace it, right? You can just select a different image. And that's actually how you're going to work a lot of the time. So, you know, Michael, you know, and I can say I am a maker, right? So that's in italics because it's in, it's got stars around them. If we got rid of that star, that would go. So it's really quick to edit. And you get some sort of examples of, I think, the best kinds of slides here. So, you know, say we want to share a background with some bullets. It's a bit of an AI generated thing, but here's a bullet point, here's a title. So you've got quite a few different examples of the sorts of slides that you might want to show. Here's a photo, a full screen background. But you can also just like add a card without, wait, I never do this, as you may be able to tell. You can add a card through that menu, but you can also add a blank card and just like keep typing. But like basically, I spend my life. I'm just going to delete a few things. So delete a few of these. I just spend my life going Command Enter, type the next card. Right, Command Enter, next card. This for me is just like the best way of doing it. You can use the up and down arrows to sort of navigate the script. If you want to, you know, all the usual keyboard shortcuts for going around a text field will still work. That's what I tend to do. I tend to be in sort of full manual mode. Now, if you want to put a card before another one, you can just right click it, go insert card before. You can right click, go insert card. You can duplicate things. You can do different things, right? We've got the ability to add media, so if you wanted to add multiple images, you can do that through that menu. So if you have 3 videos and you just want them to go into 3 cards, you use that add media option there. And we've got some, I'm gonna skip over the AI stuff because, yeah, whatever. But we've got generate, we've got the ability to sort of like generate some text on a card. So I actually use this a lot for background information. If I'm like, I'm not sure what year that was, I'm not sure who invented that thing, just give me a card on the background of X or Y and it'll sort of generate, it'll use AI to generate, ChatGPT to generate a card that just like fills it in and I'll like correct it all. But it's a way of sort of like speeding up sometimes. Now, we've seen the start button. This is how we start presenting. The start, next to that is the record button. And if you have a pro plan, you can actually record in separate layers here using the drop down. And then we have a share button. Currently that's going to, so what you can do, like if there's images in this document, this is actually a bundle that you can send anywhere. So you can just like share that file with someone else. And then in future, I'm going to have a bit of an export as PDF, but you may not have that yet. But let's have a look along here. So you've got your templates here, right? So these are the ways that it's nice to use it. But we've also got these options. What can we add to a card? So say we're on a card, what do we want to add? So text gives you all the different sorts of things. So a title. Hello, this is a title, right? We can add a title, we've seen that. And let's just put that to a sideways one. But we can add a bullet point. Hello, this is a bullet. And now when we present that, what do we get? It brings it in and then press next. It shows the bullet point, right? we can hide it, bring it back, and then we'll go to the next slide afterwards. So it'll come in with a little animation and like show that as a bullet point. You can type that star yourself, right, to add another one. So that's Shift 8 gives you that star. If you want to customize what those bullets look like, I'm using Control Command Spacebar to bring up the sort of emoji thing. And say we want a nice big green blob. If you put those right after the bullet point, now your bullet points have that character instead. But you see when there's a multi-line thing, it will also line up those left edges and look neat still. So you could just obviously like not use bullets and have it like this. But I think if you want to do that, you're gonna get some nice. You see that because I put a space in, it didn't work. But if I get rid of that space, I can have my own custom bullet point. And then that can be quite a nice way of just quickly adding a bit of life into your presentation, a bit of color. Say we have a couple of bullet points, like we want to keep these bullet points super short, but what if we want to add some more notes for ourselves? So the way we do that is with a special syntax that you kind of have to know about. I should probably put an example in, but if you put a square bracket after a bullet point and say, remind yourself what to say, say your name, right? What's going to happen now? It's not going to show up as a bullet point here, like that still just says hello, but you see we have some extra stuff here. So then what happens when we present this, when we go start, we see, okay, this is the next bullet point is going to be here. So we press next, we see now that's highlighted there. That's bullet 1. And then we press next, we're actually going to see that extra context. So our slides look pretty crisp as we're looking at them, but as we land on it, you're going to see that extra context. And that's going to make a lot more sense in the teleprompter window. So we go back, we go forwards, you're going to be able to see like what your notes are going to be that way. So that's just a little secret for bullet points, a couple of little secrets for you. Next up, we have got quotes. So this is just, let's go to it. So here's another trick I'm going to show you. Now we've got a little bit too much on this card. Do we like cut and paste? No, we just go edit, split text to new card, right? And that took that point from the end of that and it just turned this from there into a new card so that we just could have that on our own. So what does this give us? We can click on quotation. I don't think attribution works here, but so we can say all fish riding bicycle, or right, we can put that there. Now we don't actually have to have the attribution. We can just put that there. This is nice because it lets you put a nice long quote in and it will format it nicely and put some quotes around. But if we want to put the attribution in, we can say Michael thingy, right? So this is a way to have quotes on screen. I just think this is just a nice way of formatting the quotes. I'll add another card with Command Enter. We've got footnotes. So like say we do have something here, we can also add a footnote. So this is now going to appears down at the bottom. Now there's some notes on the in the documentation about how to use this. I don't even know if I can remember what it is off the top of my head, but there's some sort of stuff like that to make to add, like you see, so yeah, so with a little caret symbol, which is on my keyboard it's Shift 6, we can make a little small one up there, and then down here we can make that a little small one down there, just if you want to. And then that doesn't have to be a 1, that can be like it can be a squiggle. Yeah, so the squiggle down in the footnotes. So it just sort of like keeps all your footnotes and citations in one place. The next thing we can do is, then we get to the subtitles and paragraphs, but basically it's just like, this is 2 things. So subtitle, right? So title is bigger, subtitle's a bit smaller, and then 3 slashes is what you get if you put body. I'll just do that for you now. I'll go text. Paragraph, this is just level 3 title, really. Right, so you just get a few different harmoniously chosen font sizes. And something you're going to notice is if you do a bullet point, it's going to be sort of like, it's going to depend on what the smallest. So if you have just a title, your bullet points are going to be that big. My camera has gone blurry. Come on, man. Right, so you have, the bullet point is just a point size below the title size. But if you had a subtitle, Now your bullet points are just a little bit smaller again. So that just kind of keeps the typography looking okay. So again, like it means you're not dragging around text boxes and like trying to like type something into everything in a template. So that's you know, I'm really just giving you the ability to just say what you think, put that down on the card, and I just deal with all the layout and make sure it looks good this way, this way, this way, this way, right? I just make sure it looks good in all the different ways. Something we did skip over before was the how the images work, but we'll get back to that. So we can put in, the next thing we can put in, let's have a new card over here. We can actually add a table in. And this just basically uses these vertical bars. So this is a markdown thing. So we've just got 3 rows. I actually use this all the time, ever since I started doing like course creation stuff. You can sort of, here's the first thing. So what that's going to do is just line up these columns, so that all looks sort of neat. And these are like the text here. By the way, like if this gets a bit narrow, you can just like drag the cards a little bit wider, and that's going to look nicer. We will do that, and that just makes everything line up. So that's the table syntax. And if you want to sort of like highlight stuff, you can put like a star, you know, stars around things, or you could even you can put a strike through. So there's some special like markdown syntax. If you don't know markdown, just have a look. I've chucked in a couple of those markdown syntax things for you. Next we have, right, the spacer can be really useful. So spacer is just a way to like put space between things. So say these are a bit too close together, we can just go, okay, let's have a spacer. Maybe not there. So you can just Command X to remove that, and maybe put it down here. That might be a bit weird as well. But say we wanted some, you know, some other stuff. Is what's at the bottom, right? You could start kind of doing some interesting stuff with your layouts by using spaces. So if I wanted title, subtitle, bullet point, but actually like another secret to spacer is create a blank card, spacer. If you're in like this side view, now you've just got a blank. That's how the blank board works, right? It's just a spacer, and then you can make that wider or narrower. So if you just want like a blank thing, just put a spacer in, you're going to be good. And hopefully it will look highlighted in a future version of CueCam. You see it's when the line breaks in there, it works. And then finally, say, you know, so all the stuff in here is coming through to your teleprompter, but say you actually just want to put in some notes for the person authoring the script that don't come through to the teleprompter, don't come through to the screen. You can just like add in a comment. So this is 2 forward slashes. This is something important. So it's grayed out. It's just like, okay, remind yourself, okay, you know, change the title here to something better. And then this is on the teleprompter. So if I show this, you know, you're going to see like that's all that's on the teleprompter, not those notes, and it's sort of grayed out as well. So that's just another useful, handy thing, especially if you're like sharing a script with someone else and you want them to do something. So I think that's all the text options. Let's just say we put a title in. Let's just remind ourselves. So if you want italics, italic, just put stars around things. If you want a strike through, it's that squiggle character, strike through. And another squiggle character will do that, and then I think that's the main 2, because it's all bold because it's big, right? So that's all the text stuff. The next thing we're going to talk about is images. So I'm actually just going to like, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to click one up there. I'm going to hold Shift, click down the bottom. I'm going to press Delete, just delete a load of cards, start again, and just add in another card with Command Enter. And we're going to go to images, right? So you've got 2 kinds of images in CueCam. You've got slide images and you've got background images. So if I want to add an image, right, it's just going to throw a placeholder in, but you see that's on the card there. So if I add text here, right, that's going to be here. But if I like cut that and move that under, now it's after, right? So we can actually like, you know, control where that appears. And if you like mess up, so this has to be like this sort of, it doesn't have to have a space there, but if you like mess up the file name, it is going to disappear. It's going to be struck through there. If you want to know what file, it's just going to take it from your document. So any files that are in your current document, you can just put in. So if you just go, you can just sort of do that. If I do exclamation mark, just paste that in. So any files that are in this document, this hasn't got any yet, but you can just sort of find them there and copy paste that and sort of throw them in. And so if you were to add that card with the lower third, you see CueCamIcon.png. That now lives in the document, CueCamIcon.png, and we can, you know, careful editing it. In future I'm going to make this a bit better, but you know, say we've got the icon here and we've got the text. I think this lower third always puts the icons to the left, but if we went to this, that would be above. If we went to this, you know, we can change the order of everything there. So like if you have a look here, so if it's left right, it just assumes you want different things in line, but if bottom, it sort of puts the icons first and then puts like the other stuff. So it's just like a smart way of like deciding what to do depending on the layout. So these are all subtleties that are made so you can just think about the content and not have to think about that anything else too much. Okay, so I just actually had a little break and I came back. I had to think about it. I just got rid of that dashboard button. So now the live camera, there's no button up there anymore. So that's gone. Because I realized I can, if there's extra inputs, they can go down there. And if you want the output, we can put it down there. And there's really no other reason to have that at all. So, hooray, we've simplified the app. Just as we're supposed to. Right, so coming back into this document editing. So I wanted to talk about pictures. So when we use this, we add an image, we get a placeholder, which is going to be basically laid out according to, you know, according to the layout. So if it's in the bottom, then it's going to be small. Basically, it's going to be really small there until you put in some other text. So it's going to take up the height of any text down there. So sometimes you might like add a picture and you can't find it, and that often means that it's like in the small mode and there's no other text. So just sort of watch out for like tiny images. Maybe at some point I'll make that have a minimum size. So that's like the inline images, and the way that's intended to be used is, right, you have your, you know, you have your heading, right? We'll put that, now these buttons, by the way, you can also card layout as keyboard shortcuts. So I'll often just change the layout with Command 1, Command 2, Command 3. So that's what I'm pressing now. So I just did Command 2 to get the left layout. So if I go into Finder and find some nice pictures, well, what we can do is actually, why don't we like go on the internet, search for cat pictures, right? Take this. What we can actually do is go copy image and then just go to where we want that to appear in the text. So we can paste an image in, and that's just going to appear afterwards. If we pasted it in again, we'd get it twice. And then the other way to get images in is, like, say we've got another cat picture. Let's just drag that down to the desktop. So we've got that on a desktop. It's called download.jpg. So I always recommend, if you're going to add an image into a CueCam card, rename it to something sensible first. So like kitty, you know, white, right? You can just grab that. And now if you just drag that, so basically you've got two ways of dragging stuff into CueCam. If you just dragged it there, it would be a background. But if you drag it here, you see the cursor is lighting up, right? The cursor, whereas rather than the edge of the thing. So if you do it where the cursor is and let go, that's going to go in line into the card, right? Conversely, if I dragged it and it was on if there was a green border, that's actually going to go into the background. And we should be able to undo this. So there's two different places you can grab that. So these, once they're here, you know, you can add other text and stuff, and you can just have those sort of like continue in the direction. If we had that on that side, we could have it full screen, we could have it at the top or the bottom, and it's just going to sort of like go in line with the text. But if you were to sort of remove that image and then like drag it just onto here, then it's going to take up the whole background, right? Which is a different sort of thing. And now to deal with that, like you see, instead of being here, it's actually like when you hover over here, you're going to see the thing. You can either switch it for a different one, you can make it sort of fill the whole background or fit, you can replace it or you can remove it, right? Now say you did grab something into like the card and you decided, oh, I actually would like that to fill the screen after all. Just hit that, just hover over it, click there, hit move to background, and that's now going to turn in. So it's going to be removed from the text here and just fill the background. And then maybe we'll come over here and make it fill. I don't know. Up to you really. So here you can add the card. You can also, you know, we can generate images. We can use a bit of AI to go, you know, kitten, right? Generate that image, and that's just going to go away. And when you use, you know, the top one, slide image, it's going to go into the card. And then if you generate a background, it's not only going to put it in the background of the card, but it's also going to make sure that so there you go. It's also going to make sure that it's like a wide image. So if we went generate background and we said, like, you know, cozy cabin, right? This is going to now generate an image. It's going to generate a background image, but it's going to be like the right size and shape, and it's going to fill up that whole background. So if we just wait a little bit longer for that to happen, so there's our cozy cabin background that we just generated. You see that's wide rather than like a square one. So we can also, like, say you have a background, like a brand image that you want to use as the background for all your slides. You know, anytime you've got a title, you say, okay, this is like my, okay, intro, I am getting started, right? Say you've got a nice big, like, full image, and you say, actually, I want the background of this card to be one of the ones I've already put in the gap. So you can just say cozy cabin, right? And you can just select any image that's in your document. And then again, you can see the images in your document right here as well. So that's some different ways you can work with images. Next up, video. So, like, if you want to just sort of see how this works, if you do add card, add movie, then you actually, like, I've included a couple of videos for you to work with. So you see here, it says drag any video into this card or use the toolbar video menu, which is this. So here you can preview that video, right? So you can press play, right? You'll get the audio. You can whatever you do here is how it's going to be presented when you have it. So if you mute it like that and then present it, right, that's not going to have any audio when it's shown. Whereas if it's not muted, when you present it, we'll turn the volume down a little bit, then it's going to have, it's going to have the sound, and you're going to get that volume control. We can also do a couple of other things here, right? We can change the speed that it plays back. We can tell it for this card, so while this card is showing, just cut the mic, right? So say you had a video, like an ad or, you know, whatever you wanted to show, you didn't want to hear people to hear you rustling and talking in the background. You can just hit that cut mic button, and that's just going to make sure that's quiet. And then over here, just to show you, like, you can see the file name. You can remove the video here. This is where you go to remove the video from the card. Maybe not the most obvious place. Hover over, do that, and then just remove it there. Again, you've got sort of some of these same controls for whatever reason. But something we have here is the end action, and that's really important. So after that video is finished playing, you can either pause, you can loop the video, you can automatically go to the next card, which can be really useful in some situations, or you can just end the whole presentation. And then, like, opacity is here to sort of allow you to do some sort of tricks. It's something I use, but it's not something you really need to know about. So the other thing we can do, say this clip is, you know, maybe not quite the right bit that we want, we can hit trim here, and we can actually say, like, let's start from the video pencil section. We did start. Let's start from here. We can hit trim, and now when that card is presented, it's just going to show that range. But another thing we can do is say we wanted to, like, my favorite example of this is I've created an infographic and I want to show the different stages. But let's say we wanted to talk about, okay, that's the pen, but actually I want to make some notes for myself for the next cards. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the point that I want to split the cards at the video. Let's say, like, after we've shown the tools, we want to do a special one for the Magic Wand tool. So what we can do is hit that split button there, and what that does is it actually creates a new card with that trim. So if we come back here, it goes up to here. So it's just going up, doing that first bit down here, and then on the next card, it's actually like taking it from there. And then we can keep going like this. We can say, okay, and then after the end of this bit, I want to split again. Hit split, and just, you can break up a video. So this is like, you know, Magic Wand demo, and then we can go like, what was this? This is like connection info. Let's see if we can, let's just like mute these for now. So I'm just going to go. You can actually, something that you might not know is you can actually multi-select videos, and then if you go into a card, you're going to have some things that will happen to all of them. Looks like I haven't sorted it out for this bit. Let me see if this works. No, it looks like we'll need to do this individually, but in future that's going to work for all the selected cards. So if I just hit start now, you see it's going to show this section of the video up to the end of the tools, and then it's going to stop. And then I'm going to be able to go forwards. I'm going to see, okay, this is the Magic Wand demo, just show that, and then it's going to stop, and then I'm going to be able to go forwards. I'm going to see the, like, I'm going to see my presenter notes that relate to this part of the video. And you know, it's one thing to sort of show a fancy demo like this, but maybe it's a sequence of graphs revealing. So actually, I'll just show you how I've used this. My testing doc, so I've got different kinds of videos. I'll just show you the one that I test. Now, something you'll see there is when you open a new document, it actually goes into a tab now. Like, so this just stops. There's a few windows kicking around it as it is. So, but yeah, here's how that looks. So say I want to show, okay, first we have procrastination and research, and I can talk about that for a bit, and I can go to the next card, reveal writing, next card, reveal rewrites, next card, reveal recording, right? You see, so I can go through the stages of a video, but you see each of those, it's just one video exported from Keynote and turned into separate slides, so I can sort of reveal them, each one with a bang. So video background, all that does is really just like makes a placeholder for a video, but it has the settings. Well, it sort of puts in a placeholder that you can replace using the replace button, which should be in there. And then it's just set to loop, basically. So the end action is set to loop, so that's just going to loop around, and it's set to mute as well. So if you just wanted a video to play it behind some slides, you can now add in some, like, you know, coming up, right, and put that over on the left, and then you could just sort of be running that like that, and it would have that sort of, like, you know, something going on in the background of your card. And of course, like, if you have got, you know, if you have got a background that you want to reuse, you can select that directly. If it's in the document already, then you can just do that. Something else that you may have just seen there. So if on my iPad I have loaded in a video, you can either load videos directly into CueCam, but Video Pencil also has sort of similar functionality where you can load a video into the iPad. So this is actually playing from the iPad now. So one thing is you're not going to get audio, but you can sort of zoom out, and hopefully we can still see me while this is there. And this, you know, this is sort of useful sometimes if you just want to. Sometimes it's easier in a way to have it on the iPad than to have it on the Mac. And actually, like, even if you haven't got, you know, on the iPad you can even turn on picture-in-picture if you want to sort of appear down in the bottom right there. But I'll turn that off for now. But say you've got this video and you want to load it, you know it's on the iPad, you know it's there. What you can actually do is go video. You see there's a video loaded. It's got load image 9, you know, so there's whatever, this video here is image whatever, 9721. If I just click that actually, when I come to this card, so if I close this video, load the video on the iPad, right? So we can be playing this when we're presenting. We're playing that when we come to the next card. It's actually going to go and load that video on the iPad for you. So that can be really useful if you don't have all the videos on your desktop. Now the next thing we can talk about is screen shares. So right here we've got the same things: share screen, share window, share app, all screen shares, and your iPad screen and a website. So why don't I start from share website? So what share website is going to do is it's going to let you put in, it's basically going to take your default browser and it's going to pop up a link. So we'll just go to the CueCam website. So if I do that, talk about CueCam. Right, when I come to this, when I present this card, it's going to do two things. It's going to share my default browser, which in my case is Arc, but you see, like, it's actually sharing default browser, not like the specific one. So that it looks at what your default browser is, and then the website you can change here, right? Either here or, like, actually you can change it here as well. You see here, like, if there's a couple of things going on, you can sort of like edit them quickly there as well. When we present this, it's just going to bring your browser to the front, presenting CueCam, and like as always, you can see where you are down here, and just sort of like scroll up the website. This is the old website. The next thing you can share, let's just share a whole screen. So if I share my desktop, right, like I'll share this screen, but you see the first thing is it hides the CueCam Presenter window for a start. So, but like you see, if we've got like our recordings, I've got all my recordings that I'm in the middle of doing. Now, something that I think is really cool about this is when you zoom in. So let's say I zoomed in here. So you can pinch to zoom and say, okay, let's look at Finder. Let's look at Finder. Right, if you all had another screen share, I'm just going to quickly duplicate this card, which is going to make another one with the same screen share. You know, and now let's look at the browser. So you can now make it come up to the browser. So what's going to happen when you present that? So you're going to share, it's going to show Finder, and then when you go to the next card, it's actually going to smoothly transition from one to the other. Similarly, you can do a share app. Just choose an application whose windows you want to share. Again, you're going to see that previewed there, and you can zoom in and sort of make sure that you're you know, showing the right bit of the screen. And as always, whenever you're sharing a part of your screen, you'll see, you know, you'll see where you're going to be in that screen share. You'll see where it's cropped as part of this this preview here. So actually, because that window's down the bottom, you see my face isn't visible. But if I sort of came up here, sort of panned it up, let's just sort of come out of here, and you can always, like, generally, if you get a bit lost, you can always reset zoom up here and sort of zoom in like that. And so now you see my face is covering up half that window. So if I present this card, I've got that preview showing me that I'm covering up this part of the window. So just don't, you know, sort of, so I can see if I'm in the way. Now I'm going to show you something cool you can do when you have a device connected. So I'm going to share my iPad screen. So my iPad is connected with a USB cable, which makes it show up as a possible screen share. But if I click my iPad share, right, so we're sharing my iPad. I think it might actually not preview correctly. So, but you see when we share the iPad, it's actually doing a couple of clever little things here, right? Because we've got Video Pencil loaded, and this is, I guess, a special case for showing Video Pencil, but instead of showing what's going out on the feed, it's actually just sending my webcam through so that I can sort of show the bits of Video Pencil, because they sort of know about each other. But if you kind of like exit out of here, you can go and see the whole iPad, right? And now you see here, and something I really love with this is if you go to Aside 3D, I actually think that looks really cool. So it's like my iPad is there, like, and maybe if it sort of makes more sense for that to be on the other side, we can let's put that on the other side. So that is, I don't know, well, my iPad's there, so actually I think that should be on the left, because that's, you see when I'm going down there. But you see here, like, it's actually got the frame of the iPad like around the edge. So how does it know how to add that iPad frame? Well, actually, if we go to card, you see it's picked up that we're screen sharing an iPad. I actually go and fetch a load of iOS device frames from like a special GitHub repository. So you can just like try and find the one that matches the device. And so you don't have to like, you can, so I just, whenever I plug in this iPad, it knows to put this frame around it now. But anyway, you can just like experiment with that until you find the one that works. And then like if you don't want to have to sort of like hunt around, you can just say like the app. Now something's going to happen. Say we were sharing, we wanted to share our, you know, well, add to this card. We're going to share, let's just add a new card. So let's go screen, add this screen share. Let's share the Zoom app, right? Share app, and say Zoom. You know, now we've got on this preview here, it's going to try and share Zoom. We can see that it wants to share Zoom, but if Zoom wasn't running, then it's sort of like you don't see the icon there. And so something I do plan on doing before too long is just having a little summary of all the stuff that's missing. So before you start recording, before you go live, you can just see anything that it wants to share that it can't find. I did have that in a previous build, but something went weird with it, so I kind of ended up turning it off for a bit. The next thing you can do is, you know, share a second camera. So let's just like, I'll share my FaceTime camera, so it's a view from under the teleprompter. So you're going to be picture in picture, and with all of these shares you can always toggle that picture in picture. Now if you're using the green screen style picture in picture, it's still going to show the circle. It's just a little toggle to tell you whether you want it. If you like realized you didn't want any picture in picture, by the way, you could do that and sort of turn off picture in picture for all of them. You can actually see a little indicator on the card that shows you which ones have picture in picture and which ones don't. I'm actually going to, so if we can click there, we can say none just to remove that, put us back to the thing. So I'm going to, you know, just grab my phone, running shoot, and sort of like point it at something again, we can sort of point that down there. Right, so now if I add a second camera, I can add shoot. I'm going to tidy that up. So I can see, we can see this, but something we can do, if the camera is sort of like on a tripod, if the camera is sort of like mounted somehow, but like it's not quite square, you can always just like zoom in on the bit that you want it to show, and then that will just be saved on the card. So when you present that card, it will just be cropped in where you want it. So that's just something to know about that, and I like it because it was one of the the most recent things I did. So that's cameras, and now we get to the more section. Right, so let me tell you a little bit. Right, I said this was going to be a thorough tour. Let me tell you about loading music. Now, the way music works in CueCam is it's going to start playing and then it's going to continue playing no matter what else you're doing as you're going through your presentation. And so you have the choice to fade it to a different volume or stop it. I'm going to load one of my live streams, right? So let's load one of my live streams to show you how this works. That's coming down from iCloud, so it's going to be a second. So what I have in that live stream is, when I first start saying coming up, I actually have a music loop here. So the first thing I did was added like load music. So this has a load music trigger on it, which is start. We've got a loop selected, which is in the bundle, and I've actually got this set to loop, and I've got the volume set down to 7% and the fade time to 0, right? When the titles come in, I fade out the I stop the music over 0.1 seconds. So it's just again, it's a stop music trigger, which I added, and then that just stops the music, right? And then once this video here, by the way, is set to, its end action is set to go to the next card. So as soon as the video finishes, it goes to the next card. And then we load in a different loop, and that is quite quiet, and that's on a loop. It's a start thing again. And then after a couple of cards, once I get to this point, I actually fade down the music over 5 seconds. So here's what that looks like. So first I do my coming up, right? Coming up, what's going to happen? And then as that, and then once I go into the titles, it fades out the music. And then once that finishes, now we have this music playing in the background, and that's on a loop. I do my intro, welcome to Squares TV App Lab number 94. Come to the next thing, and then when I come to, I talk about myself, I talk about this, and then I go updates, and it fades out the music. Okay, so that's how music works in CueCam, and I think that works well for background music and stuff like that. Also under here is stuff for working with other applications. So if you have Ecamm Live, I'm actually recording these demos in Ecamm Live because, well, certainly this part of the demo in Ecamm, because it's easier to sort of like jump into presentation mode, and it's not showing that it's recording when, that could be confusing. But so I can actually see, right, like if I had different scenes in Ecamm, if I really wanted to do interview mode, if I wanted to do a layout that CueCam doesn't really want to let me do, or like have my game and have my overlays or whatever, like whatever I'm doing, some sort of advanced layout that is only possible once you sort of go into that scene type of paradigm. Okay, I can actually I can run my CueCam camera for 90% of what I'm doing, and then I can just load in a different Ecamm scene as and when it makes sense. So this actually goes into my Ecamm. So if I go into Ecamm demo mode, you can see I've just got a couple of scenes, because the thing is with CueCam is you don't need a lot of scenes in order to sort of be able to pull all this stuff off. So if I had a different profile with a load of scenes, they would all show up here. So I can just add in, okay, on this I want to go to my desktop for that scene, and that is now going to put a drop down there. We're going to have desktop as an option, or we can just remove that by going to the blank space. Now if you're dealing with a lot of Ecamm scenes, you can actually customize your toolbar, and there's an Ecamm thing here. You can just drag that in, and now you've got a dedicated Ecamm scene selector which has those scenes. You can just pull that in, or does it let you remove it from here? Yeah, it lets you remove it from there as well. And basically the same thing for OBS. So if you've got OBS set up, now to get OBS set up, you're going to have to first go into settings, and there's documentation about this on the website. You're going to have to just tell it what the password is and the port, so that it can connect to OBS and find the scenes. But once it can do that, you can do exactly the same thing. OBS scene, just jump to a different scene on a card. So you can sort of run through your thing, and then you can just go back to whatever else you're doing in OBS. And the same with MimoLive. Any documents that are open, any layer sets that are set up, you can just select that. And there's there's stuff on the website on how to do that. So I'm not going to go fully into that here because it would mean launching another 3 different pieces of software. Another thing you can do here is add a keystroke trigger. So what this does, and this one is actually showing up here. So if I click on here, it gives me an opportunity to select an application from everything that's running, right? And send a keystroke to it. So let's say, I don't know, let's say we've got iTerm. It's my terminal app. You click in there and you can press like your key combination. So I just clicked in there, I press Command T, and then now when I present this card, it's actually going to go over to the iTerm app, and yeah, it's going to ask for some remote control features. Let me just come back to that and just try and, what happened to that? Yes, open system settings. It is going to ask for accessibility. You are going to have to give it the accessibility permission. But then it's going to be able to send that keyboard shortcut. So if we go to iTerm, so here's my terminal there. So when I present this, see, look, it made a new terminal tab. Now, something really powerful that CueCam can do is open deep links. And a lot of those deep links that you might find useful are actually deep links that CueCam has itself, right? So if you remember, we had the live camera window, which you can always bring back by tapping a second time on the dock icon. So when Video Pencil's connected, let's say we wanted to go to the blue pen, you can copy that deep link, right? And now I can go more, add deep link, and then I can just paste in something there. So this is actually CueCam iPad Control Select Tool 5. So I can be back here. Let's say I'll just select the pink tool here. So we've got the pink tool. I'll press play, and then I'll go, I'm drawing in pink. I go next, and it sends that deep link, and now I'm drawing in blue. So that I actually found that really useful recording this, because I was able to switch from drawing with a pen, automatically go to laser pointer, automatically go to magic wand as I'm going through the tiles. So that's one way of using deep links, but like any app on your computer might have deep links. The next thing, like this OSC trigger is super esoteric. So OSC is a sort of standard protocol for controlling things over the network. Say you have got something like music software or something, but what you're going to do is you're going to send a message, you're going to add a value, right? Or you can add multiple values in there, but you're going to have to select an app to send a control signal to. So, but that means going into CueCam settings and going down to OSC settings, and you can, like I say, you see Ableton Live Drums is set up port 127. And it's got the port number, and so that means I can go, okay, right, I want to send a message to Ableton Drums. So I'd add an OSC trigger, it's set like this, and we can just select which app we want, right, with that button there. So I'm going to say Ableton Live Drums, we're going to send a 3 to, and we're going to send the, start from, right, that message. So you're basically going to be able to add multiple messages as well. So if you've got multiple signal OSC messages you want to send to Ableton Live Drums or whatever, like things you have, you can sort of go there and set that up. So esoteric stuff, but like say you have a camera rig or lighting rig or something that you want to send control messages to, you can do that with CueCam. And it's quite, it's quite usable because you just select the app, you set up the app and the port numbers, so you don't have to put port numbers all the time. Next thing we've got is some CueCam stuff, right? So something really powerful with CueCam that you can do is, well, demo mode, I'm going to skip demo mode for now. So demo mode lets you kind of share CueCam. So you can sort of jump in and out of demo mode as part of a presentation. I don't end up using that a lot. I find this a bit awkward. So, but something that is really useful is end demo mode. So if you've jumped into demo mode for a demo, then you can do that. But something that is really powerful is jump to dock. So it's sort of buried a little bit here. So CueCam will let you basically run a presentation and then halfway through just jump off into a different presentation. And then when that presentation's finished, you'll jump back into the first one, right? So in this case, let's say like after, let's jump over to pie chart, right? So the way I'd do this, I'd say like, okay, next we're going to jump over to the thing. I'd add a card, and then I'd come over here more, jump to dock. Right, now this basically wants a CueCam deep link. So we're going to go, let's say we've got this one here. We've got our pie charts here, right? This is the first one. So if I go copy deep link to that card, come back here, jump to dock. Now what happens? And then I always just, when I do that, I say like, we're back. I just do that to kind of like, just so I know what's going on. So I'll start this presentation, right? Okay, let's jump over to a pie chart. Go next. It's actually jumped over to that other document. And then I can go through that other deck, right? Keep pressing right. And then when I'm at the end, you see, so I'm at the last card on there. When I finish, it jumps me back to, well, you have to have both documents saved, but it jumps you back to the original document. So that's just a way of being able to sort of tie together multiple scripts and keep your scripts self-contained if you want to reuse something another time. You've also got the option to start recordings, finish recordings in CueCam, so I think that's pretty self-explanatory. So that's those top bars, and then we've got the card thing. So basically whatever you've added to the card, you're going to get some controls here. So here you see the triggers are available. Here you see like the camera that you've shared is available. You can see some settings there. The screen share, you can see that setting there. You can sort of toggle picture in picture there. And then, so that's like the card sidebar. And then we've got the document sidebar. So this is where you sort of set the style of your presentation. Now the default is this clean style where it just slides you out the way, has a solid background, and the value of that is that it's really easy to keep it looking good because we're just always cropping the camera. We're not worrying about overlaying things, but you can, if you're a little bit more of an expert. I'm just going to remove this background, cozy cabin, so that I can see this. So like we've got this heading. It sort of brings it through, and like actually, like if you have, let's open testing transitions, CueCam quality assurance. Let's go to different. That's camera transitions. Wait, let's go testing slide transitions. So you'll see. We can be like this. Here's the first slide, so it's kept me there. We go to the second one. It actually resizes the background. We can come out, it can change the color gently. We can come again, it can sort of switch to the other side, brings in some bullet points, comes back. We can add a footer, we can sort of see that at the bottom while the stuff's on the side. We can like add a lower third with a footnote, bring that in. You see it sort of did the footnote in the upper third in a sensible way. So basically it means we can have some quite nice transitions and you don't really have to do anything. But like if you want to get fancy, like if you know what you're doing, with text and typography and how to put things, you can have a bit more control with, so individual will, I think the previews are going to show the wrong thing at the moment actually. The individual will just wrap that box around, or union will, like if you've got multiple things. By the way, whenever you're you see here, like, so it's just joined all of those together and we can sort of change the color and it's going to be like that. Or you can say expert, it's just going to be transparent, so we'll just see. So just like the reason this is called expert mode is because you just have to make sure that you haven't got something that's going to collide with that. So don't put text over a screen share that's got text in it, for example, because that's just going to look horrendous. And so we've got these sort of like, the union one makes sure that it's all sort of in a box. The individual one makes it so that each line has its own thing. And like something to know, click edit here, you can always add and a third thing. Right, we can have these things, change the background color. And you see this just sort of, it sort of has its end editing, it sort of does different things. So experiment with those, but like you can either set that for the whole, and you can set the transition time. So if you want the transitions to be, a bit quicker, you can do that. You can just sort of set that to be fast. But I think like a sort of 1 second is pretty good. You don't have to use the same style on every single card. You can actually like individually customize the design. So I mean, you're not going to see the design unless you've got something on there, right? But what you can do is, you see this is grayed out. It says inherited from doc, but if you just sort of use that drop down, you can say, okay, on this one, I'm going to like make sure it looks good, and I'm going to put it down the bottom, and then when you present that, it's going to be, you know, it's just going to be loose like that. I am going to fix it so it does the previews properly for the other styles again. And then you can sort of set, you know, you can either set the background color, you can set the design style, you can change the transition style. But if you change your mind, you want to go back to the doc style, just hit use doc design, and that'll put that back. And you don't, you know, I don't let you change the color of the text just now, but like if you are in expert mode and you're presenting something, so in this case you're not going to have a background, right? You can just sort of switch it to dark text. So if you had something, you know, light, if you were holding something light here, you could just you know, make sure that you switch to dark text in order to do that. Maybe in future, you know, in future, I don't know, I'm trying to take away as many things for you to have to worry about. I think you're the star of the show here. Your slides are not the star of the show. You should not be spending ages like designing and mucking about with stuff, and you shouldn't be putting loads of text on screen. You should just have like, you should just be embellishing what you're saying with a little sprinkle of text, not doing loads of complicated stuff. So I think like keeping this design to the bare minimum is just the best way to do it. And so going over to document, you've got your design system. You can actually change the font. So say you want some weird font, you can do that. I've got to, you know, you can set a different font. I'm going to keep this as Helvetica Neue Medium. And you can actually set like the global scale of the font. So if you just generally are going to need a little bit more space, you can just like pull that down, and then you've got a little control here. So just to sort of tweak how stuff works. You can set a background for the document. So when I showed you the green screen background, this is basically the same kind of thing. You can also set an overlay. So you can just drag in a transparent image, and that's basically going to go up to the top right corner. But if you just made that the size of your video frame, then that's going to cover the whole video. So if I wanted to show the CueCam icon on all of my slides, I would just drag that into overlay, and that is going to now, when I present, is just going to sort of go up on the top right, and that's just always going to be there, like always visible up in the top right of the frame. And so like you can obviously design that however you want. You don't have to like that had no, you know, you have to sort of like put in padding and stuff like that to make sure that looks good. That's how you can add an overlay. You can remove that. And the same thing with the background. It's just the same way. Like say we want to be, say we want the whole document to be sort of set in a cozy cabin, we can grab that in, and then whenever there's sort of like, whenever the background is relevant, if I was actually doing a green screen, so if I right click on there and turn on the green screen, and then I'm on a screen share, when I'm sort of like over the top, so now when I'm not on a green screen, I'm going to be on the cozy cabin rather than like the default green screen for that camera, if that makes sense. So that just lets you attach a background image per document. Something cool you can do here, I basically put this in for myself for my live streams, but let's say, right, it's actually like 10 p.m. So let's say we were to start our live stream at, I don't know, say we were starting at 5 past. We can say, okay, the live stream's starting at 5 past. And then when we press start, we're going to see, I'm actually going to come out of green screen, it's got this beautiful countdown timer. So you see it's counting down, and it's just doing this nice little like, you know, BBC TV thing from like the 80s. It's just going to do this nice big countdown for you. And then you'll notice when I had my, you know, when I have my, designed my, where is it, my video background, that actually just works perfectly with the countdown timer. So I can be down here or not, and we can just have this countdown and a video loop going, and just like get people hyped for the stream to start with a nice like full screen countdown. And like, you know, it's not customizable. It is where it is. It's something I put in because I thought it would be cool, like a lot of features in this app. But it's something that you might find useful.